edge of innovation. So we came up with an idea of like, how do we breathe life into this art of interpretation, is by combining those sermons with art. And so my father, he's a poet. He's been a poet for 50 years. I don't know if you know, during the beatnik period in New York, John Ashbery, he was a student. He was in John Ashbery's private seminar, where like he for graduate seminar at Brooklyn College. Um, and so my father's like, he's been a rabbi and a poet for much of his career. And I mean, that's also been an inspiration for like my own creative pursuit, is that my father's very verbose, very he speaks in prose and poetry, and I've always wanted to kind of emulate that aspect of him. um, so my father, so for each of these sermons that one of the three of us would write, my father would add a poem, write a poem kind of in reaction to, inspired by that sermon. And my sister would make an art piece, also kind of where it like brings out symbols from that sermon, symbols from that speech. And then I would make a song. And so we like that became a weekly endeavor. And at first there's, there can be apprehension of, is that a sustainable model? Because we're like, it's four creative, deeply creative outputs that we need to produce on a weekly basis. But it's also the language that we've developed for many years. My father's been a poet for 50 years, and my sister, she does a lot of art, and I've been I've, I've been making album after album constantly. So it's something that like I felt confident in our ability, but it was still a bit of a stretch, and like we needed to really hunker in and push ourselves to do. But at the same time, in that process, I was like, okay, we have this really innovative project and this concept, but um, we should look towards like the Jewish community to find opportunities to fund it, to like that I don't just make songs without getting them mixed and mastered and putting it out in a way that's pristine. And especially um, uh, that like if you're branding yourself as like putting out a project and you're putting out quantity, you're putting out a lot of something, and you don't get it polished, then people will give it like 30-second listen and listen. Like the quality is the baseline. It doesn't matter how creative and how interesting and how how unsustainable it is to imagine like how you're able to accomplish something. The quality is the package that it's in, and like that's the first thing. So it was very important for me to like be able to seek out in the Jewish community, but also it's something that's valuable to the Jewish community, because it's this innovative way of teaching Torah, expressing it in a way that like has uh, 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 multiple conversations going on at the same time. There's a poetic access point. There's an access point through just music, and like you don't have to you don't have to read the 5-page sermon. If you just listen to the song, you can kind of get it, you can vibe to it and enjoy it for the aesthetic purposes of the song, or like a picture with symbols. It makes it very accessible in many different ways. So that being said, we worked on the project, and like also I sought out from the Montreal Jewish Museum. They were very pivotal in supporting the mixing and mastering of the music. Um, I did a fellowship in high school called the Bronfman Youth Fellowship, and they supported also, they contributed to that. There's another institution in New York, which is very they love Jewish stuff and creativity and arts, and they're very intellectual. So kind of like different ways of approaching biblical texts, they're very up for. And So we also got a micro grant in support from them. So yeah, there was a component of, okay, we're in it for, like, we have to do week by week by week, but then also looking out into, oh, how do we take this to a quality and a level that, like, we can really look back on and be proud of, that it's something more than just like a song that my father's putting on his radio show, but it's something that I can put into, like, like you review albums, and to, like, it's not just in the Jewish world, but, like, try and feel proud of, like, something to present to an individual of your esteem, that kind of stuff.
I don't want to act like I'm a special person, just to put it out there, but I get where you're coming from. Um,
Yeah,
nah, the quality matters to a degree. I mean, I hear what you're saying. This is an eternal debate, but with the goal of being able to have something that lasts over time, like for an album, I do think that, like, the highest possible level of quality you can attain is what you should aim for.
right, right, yeah,
And a lot
yeah,
of my, like, arguments against quality are often not like you shouldn't try to be the best ever. It's more, if you don't have the means to achieve the 10 on 10, take the 8 on 10 instead of the 0 on 10, which is kind of what you were doing with your dad's radio show back in the day. But for a lot of
exactly,
people, they're not at that place where you're at now, but they're still at the dad's radio show version of their career, where I'm like, I mean, you could wait for perfection, or you could
right,
get the ball rolling and create the opportunities. Because, like, by being an actively producing artist, like as an example, your Moisha House adverts, this played into probably other people looking at you and going, oh, he about that. You know, like,
right,
all of these things create a portfolio and a package, and it might be the most mundane or smallest moments that you catalog or document or produce for that turn into the greater opportunities that you face later on. So,
right,
because you have the opportunity to achieve this and you were able to project manage it to effectiveness and you set the quality standards that you felt were important, but also that you're trying to attach a bigger purpose to it, right? You're trying to create educational content for your people with regards to teaching them sermons via art. That
right,
goal is kind of already going to have some barriers, where quality is going to make your life a lot easier. Whereas
right,
a lot of other people's goals may not face those same barriers.
right. Yeah, no, definitely. Something like that I want all listeners to hear is, like, us in Canada, we're so fortunate that there's, like, a government that supports and that wants artists to, like, to create and to produce. Um, some I mean, I haven't received anything yet, but uh, I applied for the Canada Council grant, which is usually very challenging to even get a profile accepted. They've opened up to early career artists, and I applied for for like a grant from the Canada Council, that, like, it's unbelievable support that that they're willing to put into, and they've recently just injected an extra $300 million into, like, supporting artists and increasing the pool of people that are able to receive Canada Council grants. That, like, people should really be applying and jumping on that, because it's just an incredible opportunity that Canada values its arts, and it's there, it's available. It's still challenging, and it's still highly competitive, but that's, like, a huge opportunity that people should be looking at. And, like, there are micro grants, like, a lot of these projects that are being funded. There are, like, institutions and stuff with kind of within the niche that, like, I'm creating art, I'm creating music for the Jewish community, and then, like, looking within the Jewish community. But I believe in other communities, in Indian communities, in Filipino communities, like, that there is organizations that are trying like support their artists. For me, I would never have like even felt that immense rush of making music if it weren't for the incredible support of No Bad Sound Studio, and finding like those opportunities of people who are investing in youth, investing in young artists. It's very helpful. I urge artists to look for those types of opportunities, because I mean, for the work that I'm doing, I don't have the financial means to really be able to support that vision, but being able to like go from an 8 on 10 to 9 on 10 can come from being very proactive in looking out towards what organizations and what micro grants are available, and to reach out to find those. Um,
No,
yeah,
it's really good knowledge, especially the fact that like anybody in Canada can go look into that, and a lot
yeah,
of us don't look into the opportunities. Now, why that's significant is for English Montrealers. Yo, you're not getting that Quebec grant money. It's just not
right.
happening. So at least there's a bit more money in the Canadian pool.
In the Canada Council, there's there's like an extra push for English minorities in Quebec and French minorities in the rest of Canada. So there's
That's
actually,
big.
yeah,
I'm gonna look into that personally because I'm like, yo,
yeah,
wait a second. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that could be kind of beneficial. Um,
right, right.
but that
No, yeah, it's it's definitely like worth looking into, and like dreams are possible through being very proactive in that process of seeing what's out there and going for it.